So one of the highest transactions that took place in Romania last year was for a company that now is one of the main key players in their industry. And I want to invite Michael Nee from Avangate, the Chief Marketing Officer and Senior Vice President Marketing and Products, to talk about how the new services economy is changing the nature of what is being sold and how it's being sold.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, so I'm very honored to be here, guys. I mean, I've been coming to Romania for the last 3 years, actually working with folks like Carmen, Daniel, who is back there, Radu Gerescu, who I believe was on the stage last year here, speaking about startups. And the thing that we always mention is that, Bucharest, Romania, is just a place of such talent. And it's amazing to see how much things like How to Web and the talent pools continue to grow out here. And so when I thought about if I were in your shoes, what would I want to hear about? What would be the things that would be interesting to me to help me move my business forward? The thing that really struck me was this idea of the services economy, what we think is going to be one of the biggest disruptors in the next 10 years, the next decade, right? This is an area where you're going to see a tremendous amount of money made as well as lost. And it's one of the things that we felt that we can carry a discussion about how services will be redefining where money is going to be made and sold. So just jumping into it, when we looked at the agenda, I figured I'd start with a slide on mobile, because mobile is hot. Chris had a nice presentation this morning, talk about how mobile is really providing you that personalization, that endpoint. And TechCrunch, in this article, was talking about how the next mobile-enabled commerce startup is really going to be 100 million or 100 billion, right? And I agree, by the way. But it misses the point. It misses the point, right? The question here isn't about mobility and the ability to take money. It isn't about the ability to be super in context. These are all enablers. The question for folks like yourselves in the room, folks who are looking for what's the business model, like how do I make money in that case, is really the question, right? And it's really the services now that are being offered via mobile. The services being offered, whether it's mobile, tablet, PC, in the car. Uber now working with Spotify, that when you get into your car, your playlist is playing, right? These are the things that are going to be changing the models of how people are going to make money. So I figured I'd use Uber, one, because they raised a ton of money, but number two, because you're starting to see these guys come into the Romanian market as well, and we've been seeing them in other places around the world. And I figured over the next 20 minutes that we have together, we'd spend a little time just drilling into what does this mean around services? How can I actually make some money from this, right? Where can I focus my product development efforts? Where is my strategy to focus down to make money in these disruptions? And it starts with a single statement. Products are dead, right? Products are dead. Now, people say, Mike, what the hell are you talking about? I make products all day, right? When I speak to product companies, they're like, look, my margins are being commoditized, are being squished, right? We're starting to see people being able to shop online, compare prices, right? Buy from anywhere in the world, right? How do we differentiate? In addition, you talk about people sharing, renting, subscribing. People don't even own products anymore. What does it mean to have a product company? And so let's actually explore that part of the story with something that we all know about, shoes, right? From one of the largest brands in the world, ostensibly, Nike, right? And these guys have been thinking about this problem for a while. What is their relationship with you, the customer, right? Is it about the shoe? It's no longer about the shoe, right? They've been adding all types of things, devices, data, right? Community. But even those things are not where it's at. When you look at what they really have been trying to push in the last couple of years, ever since they did the original connection with iPod, back when they did running shoes that are connected to trying to instrument your running programs, it was really around creating a deeper relationship with you with services, right? If you look at the latest investments they've made in something called Fuel Lab, they've invested in a number of startups that are creating individualized running plans right? Individualized workouts, right? You're talking about services that are now taking all this data from your shoes, from your shirt, which is now being wired for how you're moving, from your tennis rackets, right? They're taking this data, and now they're funding startups to be able to create personalized services for you. Now think about this for a second. You now have a program that you check on in your phone. It's got your running plan for the day. It tells you where to sprint, where to relax, how you did over the last 2 years. That's a relationship. Compare that to your shoes. What now has a stronger relationship with you? I'm now paying a running plan every month, right? I see that in front of me every day. I use it every day. Compare that to your shoes, right? Again, where is Nike focusing down? How are they recognizing that the world is changing? In fact, that leads us to the first idea that I really want to push here, which is products are an excuse to sell services, right? And this is, like I said, an idea that people understand, right? Some of these things are not new, but what I'm trying to do is help you formalize how do you make money out of this, right? Products are an excuse to sell services. PCs and cell phones have known this for years. They give away the device to get you into a plan, right? Take that analogy and think about that for almost any type of physical good. You can wrap that around. Our CEO loves to use the example of a toothbrush. In fact, we just found out there's actually a toothbrush that does this. Something that, as you brush your teeth, it actually is measuring how you brush. It's giving you measurements. It's giving you ideas of how well you're doing in just brushing your teeth, right? In fact, since I have 2 kids, what I really want to know is how well my kids are brushing their teeth. They already have 2 cavities, right? I love that. But it goes beyond that. It goes into the ability to maybe share that data with my dentist. Should I get a discount for my dental insurance because I brush my teeth well, right? Products are an excuse to sell services. And it's not just products anymore, right? It's about software as well. What is software? So one of our clients, StratPad, I was talking to their CEO, Alex Glassy, and he said, look, I have a great business right now. We're selling well. We're a business planning software. We help folks like yourselves come up with business plans. It helps you with templates, guides you in terms of what are the risks that you have to think about, what are the financial areas that folks like Daniel will be looking for, right? But the insight that came to him was he's not in the software business. He's not in the software business. What his customers were really looking for were outcomes, right? And so what they were looking at was about how to get funding. And it completely changed his idea of what he was selling. And it's allowed him to create a whole new revenue line on top of his business planning software. He now has educational videos around how you think about this problem. He has consultants he's brought on to help people figure out how to raise money. He's actually connected to an ecosystem of banks who now take the data straight from his software and are able to now use that to evaluate risk and evaluate whether they want to give this guy a loan. It's about selling the end result that people were looking for. And this has created a whole new business plan for a guy who thought he was in software just a year ago, right? And it's something for you guys to think about. What are you really selling, right? And it's not just about, and this brings us to the idea number 2. Services are being productized. And you see this every day. And it's bigger than any of us could ever guess. Uber is just one example, right? Let me give you an example of legal services. Something in the United States, which is huge, and is being disrupted by leaders like LegalZoom. You know, I've had the advantage of working with these guys for quite a while, and just see how they've done it, right? Let's drill into what does it mean to disrupt an industry like legal services, right? When you look at trying to get a lawyer, it's really a pain. It's frankly a pain in the ass, right? How do you find a lawyer that you trust? How do you even know what question you're asking, right? You don't, right? How many people do you turn to say, okay, I've used 20 lawyers. Here's one I'd recommend. No one has that experience, right? So how do you find a lawyer? How do you pay them? You know, right now you end up paying a retainer, which means you pay up front, and then you pay by the hour. You don't even know how much it's going to cost you by the time you're done. That sucks, right? This is where there's so much friction in buying legal services that it was ripe to be remade. So when these guys looked at it, the solution was fixed price, fixed product. Think about it. $199 incorporations, $250 for a trademark application, $99 divorces, right? Okay, so anyway, just seeing if anyone's awake out there. But the point being that they made it easy to understand what to buy and what it's going to cost me. Make it repeatable, right? It gets into using cloud now to support a new services offering. In this case, people were going to enter their own information. How do they help them enter into templates, core incorporation information? Why do you have to pay an expensive lawyer and their team to enter all that stuff for you after they interview you? Right? How do you use templates to help drive a lot of the questions and answers that typically would happen during, filling out core forms around things like trademarks? These are things that you can automate a huge chunk of and remake the value chain around how do you actually do legal services. And then he created a services cloud. He has thousands of lawyers from anywhere in the United States who can help you review your documents and make sure what you're going to submit is actually something that is very legal and protectable. And not only that, if you get into trouble, he's there, the lawyer online, he's there who's going to help you represent you. These guys have created a whole new category in law. Do it yourself plus assist. This did not exist before, right? This is a huge category. In fact, I just talked to my friend over there. I remember there were times when he couldn't even go out to dinner. He's been living in his apartment for 2 years trying to get this off the ground. Last time I talked to him, he had 4 restaurants and a wine bar just so he can entertain his friends. And they haven't even cashed out yet. That was just because of all the cash he's making in this business. It's amazing how fast you can actually change whole categories of services. And this is something that I invite all of you guys to think about. You look around at any product, any service today. Can it be done online? How can you package it? Right? How do you make it repeatable? These are the things that allow you to sell it online. Think about Uber. Think about what Airbnb has done. And it's happening in every industry. I just put a couple here for you guys to have on the deck to help inspire some ideas. Is it house cleaning services? Right? We were just in London, and there are 5 services already vying to, as you want to have a house cleaning service, just see who's close by, and you say, I'll take this person, and they'll come right then to clean. Right? How do you reinvent any service? It's about, I have extra office space. We have folks we're working with who actually allow you to put your office space up so that you can go ahead and say, I need an office space for a week, right? You don't need to own office space. You don't need to actually go into deep contracts, right? You can have this whole economy that helps you share, and how do you actually enable that? And so there's a whole new services economy out there, and it's just getting started. We talked about Nike, right? But all this hype around refrigerators, toasters, devices, billions of them are going to be out there. But it's not the devices. Sure, some people make money in the infrastructure. But what you're going to be looking at is the services, right? It's the data that allows you to wrap a personalized running and training program. It's the data that's going to wrap around that allows you to deliver contextual information to the mobile phone, right? And it's going to be just getting started, and this is an opportunity for everyone in the room. So how do we take some of these changes and turn it around to actually make this actionable for you guys, right? How do I actually start making some money, driving some business? Well, the first thing is you have to recognize that buyers are buying differently now because they have a lot of choice. People are now starting to recognize they have services they can buy. And now, because services are very easy to change, you're not waiting for like 6 months for a new product to get out, a physical good, right? You can change the product, like a cell phone plan. I want nights and weekends. Tomorrow I think about, I create some crazy plan with 5 different tiers. When you're dealing with services, it's very easy to personalize. And so now the idea is you have to sell the way they want to buy. Let me give you an example. My child loves Legos, and I buy all types of Legos for him. And I've got like a crate of just broken Legos of every type. No way we're going to ever build any of the original set before, right? Play has a very interesting plan, right? What they allow you to do is rent Legos, right? For one price per month, you just put in your playlist, a playlist for what Legos I want to build. I think about the big Lego Death Star from Star Wars, right? It's got like 1,000 pieces in there, right? But what I wanted was not a Lego set that becomes part of this big bin of Legos. What I wanted to do was sit down with my son and build this tough Legos together and have fun together. And then at the end of the day, I'm okay with just breaking it up and throwing it in a box, shipping it back, and the next one on my playlist shows up for Legos. Think about how they've taken Legos, something that you had to be close to a store sometimes to buy, and make it into a service. Again, anything can be changed into a service. And I'm going to skip a couple just to make sure that we have time for some questions at the end. And this actually, all this stuff is reflected in some of the surveys that we've recently done. How are people actually buying? It's no surprise. Over 51% of folks won't buy unless they have a way to get started with you, right? Free, right? You have to earn the right to monetize them. But also, they want to know right away, do I have options to upgrade? What are the add-ons? I don't want to start something if I know it's not going to meet my long-term needs, but I want to be in control. So those are 2 points when you think about your go-to-market strategy. When you think about how you offer a product, and I heard some of it today, right? How do you start small? How do you earn the right as you move forward? And it's very different than the way, at least I learned marketing, right? I'm much older than I think most of the people in the room. Well, maybe Daniel, but sorry, Daniel. But you know, marketing used to be a funnel. What happened was you started off with 10 brands. I thought about 10 different things I've researched, and then over time I learned more, I researched, I get down to 2 or 3. That's called a consideration set. I make a purchase decision, and then there's a loyalty part of the funnel. This is outdated, this is broken. And I'll tell you right now, we have to remap how you engage with your customers, right? In reality, and this came out of a McKinsey study with Harvard a couple years ago around what they call the digital buyer's journey. And it's important for us to realize that this is very much tied in hand-in-hand with the longer-term relationships that people are now having with services. A product, I buy it once and maybe I renew it, I get new shoes every year or 2 years. A service, I touch it maybe 5 times a day, right? I may go to my Clash of Clans, right? I'm playing with my son, a couple times a day to see what's going on. Maybe I have to buy something in-app. But the way it's changed is not only that the buyer is in control. They actually are going online. They're finding you. You can't control the message, and everyone knows that, right? That's taken for granted now, right? They're finding you on affiliates, social channels. We see on our survey they go to at least 4 merchandising sites before they make a buying decision, and according to Google, they get 14 to 16 brand impressions before they even approach your salespeople. But the real change here is this second part of the circle. That's a loop. Right? It's not just that it's no longer linear, but the loop means that as they use the product, they actually research it, right? People actually are using a piece of software, a cloud solution, and they say, well, actually, I want to add on some capabilities around supply chain management. Let's just say if you're a business, I want to do some inventory control, and I'll look back online and say, how do I use this product I may already be using and start doing inventory control with it? But at the same time, I get exposed to 4 or 5 more brands. This is what is disrupting even old school companies that have loyal customers today. Because customers are constantly now discovering new brands. And this allows for everyone here in the room to take out the incumbents, to disrupt the leaders in the market. Let me give you one example. This is HP. And HP has come to, shall we say, appreciate the fact that the world is open to everyone here in the room to take them down. This is one of the biggest software companies in the world. $4 billion. If you take them as software just by itself, they're the 6th largest software company in the world. And 2 years ago, they saw their slow end of the market. So the self-service and you can call to order. They saw that starting to decline. So the management team worried? It's just a low end of the market. We don't really care about that. It's okay. 8 months later, the mid-market, this is a meaty part of their market, started to decline as well, and now they were worried. And when they looked into it, what they saw was that if you did not sell 1 to 5 seats, if you did not sell a smaller product that allowed people to engage the way they want to engage, if you didn't refactor your product to something that an IT individual who can just go online and download it and use it himself right there, you weren't getting into the RFP or the request for information to be included in the big deals. Right? The 1,000-seat deals, the 10,000-seat deals, right? It wasn't just a small company that was buying online. It was the individual in the line of business buying like an individual, not like a procurement agent, but buying like an individual to try it out, and then only then, even though they're a big company, only then would you be included. And now you see HP advertising on street signs, on billboards, doing TV advertisements, because they recognize this trend, and they're having to treat their business-to-business customers like consumers, right? And this gets into just how do you actually manage your customer over time. And I think rather than go abstractly over a model, let me talk a little bit about how Avangate thinks about this problem and use that as an example of maybe how you guys should think about your products. How do you engage customers over time, right? This is a model that Totango put together, and it really goes over a couple different steps, which is how do you start, how do you get to first value, then how do you get to recurring value, and from there you can grow the relationship. But let's use Avangate as an example. For those of you who don't know us, we're a digital commerce platform for software, SaaS, and online service companies. We allow folks to sell online through resellers, through distributors, manage subscription billing, and take payments globally, right? And so when you look at how we engage, we have a large flow of customers coming in from a sign-up perspective. And frankly, the first thing you have to look at is, for us, did they actually put a product into the product catalog? And again, think about it for your own products. What's the first point of value? For us, getting to putting a product in the catalog shows the customer, one, it's easy. Wow, that was really easy. And I have all these options. I can not only sell it globally, and I can price it anywhere around the world. Wow, I can put subscription plans on top of that. First value. The second value is he puts it online, and we start sending him a check every month. Right? Now he's getting recurring value. Right? Think about for yourself, when is the first time you have recurring value with your customers, with your prospects? How do you actually manage that flow? Now what you have to do is actually look and monitor where people are in that life cycle, right? Because if you know they signed up but they haven't gotten to that first point of value, how do you get them there? How do you explicitly say, okay, maybe there's an educational video I sent to this person. Maybe I call them up with my customer success manager. These are things that become all part of these long-term relationships, which are part of the services, right? It's not once and done. You are actually engaging a customer over a long time. How do you get to the point where now you can monitor and manage them to first sale, right? And then you can start selling them other things. Subscription billing, they get reporting and running their business on it. You get down to reseller management. Again, expand your relationship with the customer. But you have to get to the point where you have recurring value. So people are now rethinking their services. People are rethinking their software products as a service. How do I modularize my product to match how customers buy? Where do they want to start? How do I get them to first value as fast as possible? What are the tools? What are the metrics that I have to monitor for that says, are they getting to the recurring value? Right? And now how do I manage that whole process? Because this is not about selling them once, guys. This is about holding them for a lifetime and making them into recurring revenue. And that's what's happening with services as well. It's not just once and done. People are going to pay-as-you-go models. And so, my last message to you guys is when you look at this life cycle, it's a lot to do, right? And therefore, you have to gain leverage. I think when you look at folks around this room, people get this message. Don't build it all yourself. It's around how do you leverage the tools to get you there. And again, I won't have time to go through a lot of this. I did want to just point to the fact that, when you look at how do you manage a cycle like this, how do you manage the acquisition, right? How do you package it so that people can buy in smaller chunks, and that increases conversion? How do you manage the retention? So for instance, like being able to instrument your own products. There are companies like Intercom, Totango, Castora, and Gainsight that actually allow you to instrument your solutions, your services, to start measuring where people are. Have they crossed first value? Have they crossed into recurring value? How do you get alerts for that? How do you set up automatic tool messages back to the customer based upon did they get to a certain stage, right? Even down to folks like SafeNet, for those of you who are getting bigger, right? SafeNet is a tool that allows you to have the ability to manage whether your plans and create very complex plans and do testing with folks like us so you can understand what price points, what plans work, right? But again, the whole thing is how do you get focus on your services? This world is moving too fast for you to build everything yourself. And I give that warning especially to this room. I've come to Romania enough to know that we have a way of wanting to build it all ourselves. We can do that. This stuff is easy, right? I'm telling you, things are moving too fast out there right now. Every industry is being impacted by services. That's true. Thousands of industries out there. Cars, housekeepers, groceries, these were just the first. Everything, toothbrushes, right, are going to be disrupted. And those opportunities are for anyone who thinks about that. And they're going to sell globally. But you have to move fast. And so get leverage from tools to help you sell quickly. And especially cloud-based tools like these. These are things that scale with you. A lot of times they start off low cost. They're cloud-based, so they're easy to implement. But they only grow in cost as you grow because it conserves your cash, right? And of course, as you all know, the only reason a software company goes out of business is because they run out of cash. And with that, my invitation to you guys is to rethink everything around you because the opportunities are there for you to make money in the services economy. With that, thank you guys for your attention.
Thank you, Michael. Do you have questions, real quick? There's one. Can volunteers please signal me? I don't wear my glasses, and last time I missed some questions. So when they start like whistle or start doing.
Hello. I didn't understand very well your main idea of the presentation because at the beginning you said the product is dead.
Yes.
But then you said services are being productized. So I don't understand what you want to say. Thanks.
So thank you for the question. I'm sure that a lot of other people had that. Part of it was to wake you guys up, right? Products are dead. But in reality, the product by itself is no longer enough. That's what I meant to say. When you look at a product, right, as in a traditional sense, a bottle of water, right? This is no longer where people are going to make money, right? It is the fact that people are adding services on top of that. It is the fact that people are able to wrap that with a relationship that goes on beyond me just drinking one bottle of water. And frankly, when I talk about services being productized, it is how do you make a service repeatable, like a product? It's still just a service, but it is really making it repeatable so that people can buy it online. People have trust that when I get this, right, it will deliver exactly what I expect. And now you make it such that you have a frictionless buying process, right? Things like legal services themselves were very hard to buy online. Why? Because there's no way to get a trusted lawyer and I don't know what I'm going to get. I can't put a price on it. And so when I say productized, it means put some of the product type of characteristics to a service because that makes it frictionless, but still just a service. So when you look at where margins are going to be made, when you look at where the money is really going to be made, it is the services on top of a product or services themselves that are easier to consume and made so that people can start small and grow with it, right? And just to give you ideas of how to think about your own products, how to think about the disruption, right? Mobile, like you said, is a great enabler, but you have to think underneath, what problem are you solving? And what industry are you disrupting?
Thank you, Michael. Any more questions?
I love the talk, but I kind of contributed to its selection. I just want to give you an example, which I think it's absolutely amazing about how products become services, and maybe you could share something that crazy with us as well. So the airplane company Boeing, who's producing these huge airplane engines, is testing to the change of business model. So you actually pay a little bit of money for getting the engine, but then you pay per the number of hours that engine is working. Yeah. Which is obviously transforming an airplane engine into a service. And I mean, the Lego subscription service, that's crazy because obviously you buy the experience, you don't buy the product anymore. Have you seen something that radical changing? I mean, now we have taxis, which are kind of in the same area. But have you seen something like that drastic, or do you have any intuition about the next drastic change in this field? Is there any specific thing that you think will?
Well, what we see is, we actually get approached by crazy companies. We actually got approached by a multi-billion-dollar German manufacturer of industrial equipment. And whoever thought this is one of the oldest of old industries, right? And whoever thought that they would think of themselves anything other than a product company? And when they came to us like, this has got to be a crazy fit, there's no way. But what they saw was that their market was changing. Their hardware was replaced every 10 years, similar to like a jet engine. But what was really happening was that every 3 to 6 months, they do a new software patch. They deliver add-ons and new capabilities that actually would change the performance of the hardware, right? And they were saying, look, what if we changed our model? How do we rethink our business? Rather than a multi-million-dollar upfront hardware sale, how do I lease the hardware, right? And then sell a subscription to the software? How do I maybe even sell software? Because now I can monetize differently, right, on a regular basis. So it evens out the revenue flow. Finance people love that, by the way. If your revenue doesn't go like this, but goes like this, more money for you. But what they also saw was that they had all these add-on companies. They're adding software to their hardware. And that allowed them, going into the software business allows them to be a platform and actually pull these in. And so when we think about craziness, there are, the toothbrush, right, thing. I mean, these are things you start to go, wow, I never would have thought of that. But you see old school industries moving first, right? But when you look at what's going to be monetizable for you guys, if I could leave one last thing, if you think about the segments that go first, software is clearly, and then within software, you already see security moving from a download software to household security, right? They're moving to a service. You talk about information services, anything that's published, electronic. These are things that are easy. Content collaboration tools, right? These are things you see first. And then you're going to see mass uptake moving outwards from there, right? And of course, on the services side, you have cars, right? These are things that are easy to start trying to disrupt because they're broken industries, legal, right? But you see other services around you all day, whether it's getting someone to deliver your groceries, right? So again, there's a lot of things going out there. I invite you guys to rethink the businesses that are around you every day because there are opportunities in there to be had. Thank you again. I think my time is up.
Thank you, Michael. Yes, it is. Thank you.